against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
While people around the world pause to celebrate the holidays, prophetic fulfillments continue all around us. The Bible prophesies a cashless world in the end times. Sweden is the leading way into that cashless society. Also prophesied is the invasion of Israel by the world community at the Battle of Armageddon. Israel is becoming increasingly isolated and ostracized by the nations of the world. The scriptures foretell World War III. More and more world leaders are stating that they fear we are entering World War III right now. We'll give you details and documentation that these prophetic fulfillments are, in fact, happening right now. We're going to begin today by talking about the mark of the beast. All of us have heard about the mark of the beast. Most people don't know a lot about it. They just know it's a bad thing. Some people believe it's coming. Some people do not believe it's coming. Let's go to the world's ultimate authority, the Bible. You know, that's still true. It's interesting that continually the Bible is proven to be the most accurate book on earth over and over again. Recently, they found an inscription concerning King Hezekiah, who lived way back in about 600 or 700 BC. Many people have written him off, not believing in the Bible, but they have just recently discovered a document with his inscription on it in the area of the Temple Mount. Over and over again, the Bible is proven to be true. For that reason, we should not take this prophecy lightly. It's Revelation 13, verse 16 through 18. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Now let's pause to make sure that all of us know what we're reading here. This is referring to the Antichrist and the false prophets. And it says that they're going to force every human being on earth during their reign, and this is to happen immediately before the Battle of Armageddon and the second coming of Jesus. They're going to force everyone to have a mark in their hand or in their foreheads. Continuing on in verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell except he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. All of you have heard about it. It's the dreaded number 666. So what's this prophecy really saying? It's saying that a time will come on earth when every person will use a number in order to buy or sell. There are many interpretations about this. What does this mean? Does this foretell a cashless society? Now, up until now, this prophecy was given 2,000 years ago. So until now, it's been pretty much impossible to even comprehend what this scripture was saying. But of course, now we're watching the world move toward a cashless situation. I actually had a friend of mine that traveled around the world. She was gone for 2 or 3 months, traveled all the way around the world. You know how much money she took with her? $15. Everything else was plastic. So obviously, we're approaching right now the time that we could have a cashless society. Now, does that mean that all cash will be totally eliminated? Don't know that. Other people have speculated that perhaps this simply means that you won't be able to have a job unless you accept this mark of the beast, and you will have to pledge allegiance to the one world government and its one world religious system in order to get your mark. Already that's being done in many nations. In many nations right now, you cannot hold a job unless you have a national ID. I'd say 100 out of the 190 nations, and the other 90 are moving in that direction very rapidly right now. So either it will be a totally cashless society, or else at least it will be a society where if you don't have your marker number, you won't be able to participate in the economy. This article came to me. It's entitled, "In Sweden, a Cash-Free Future Nears." This comes from the New York Times. Few places are tilting toward a cashless future as quickly as Sweden, which has become hooked on the convenience of paying by app and plastic. This tech-forward country, home to the music streaming service Spotify and the maker of the Candy Crush mobile games, has been lured by the innovations that make digital payments easier. It is also a practical matter, as many of the country's banks no longer accept or dispense cash. Now, stop right there. Did you catch that? Many of Sweden's banks no longer disperse cash. You can't get cash there. Or they won't take cash deposits. They have totally cashless banks already in Sweden. Now remember, this prophecy is 2,000 years old. It has been impossible to implement anything like this until the last few years, until the invention of the computer, first of all, and then the advent of the internet. This was totally impossible. But today, with the electronic revolution that we are going through, it has become totally possible. Prophesied 2,000 years ago, only possible now. Now, before we go on, I just want to make sure that we really get this. This prophecy can only be fulfilled now, and is prophesied for the end time. I've told you many times on this program, the end time is not coming. The end time is here. Now, this is just one example. We could go on and on for days and weeks about prophecies in the Bible that can only be fulfilled right now, and they're being fulfilled all around us. But this one is so easy to grasp because we all deal with money every day. We deal with our charge cards. Now then we deal with our apps. And so we know that we're in a revolution right now. Let's continue on the article. Not everyone is cheering. Sweden's embrace of electronic payments has alarmed consumer organizations and critics who warn of a rising threat to privacy and increased vulnerability to sophisticated internet crimes. Last year, the number of electronic fraud cases surged to 140,000. That's in Sweden, more than double the amount a decade ago, according to Sweden's Ministry of Justice. The Collectomat is enabling tithing at the Philadelphia Church in Stockholm. Only 15% of this church's donations are now done in cash. So passing the offering bucket around doesn't work anymore because nobody has any cash. So they've installed this thing called the Collectomat in their church, and I've seen a picture of it, And that's where people go to make their donations to the church, or they can actually go on their smartphone and just donate to the church from where they're sitting in the seat. Now, older adults and refugees in Sweden who use cash may be marginalized, critics say. And young people who use apps to pay for everything or take out loans by way of their mobile phones risk falling into debt. Now, why would that be? Because it's so much easier just to put your plastic down there, and you don't realize sometimes how much you're spending until you get deeper and deeper and deeper into debt. However, there are advocates like Mr. Olveus. He cites personal safety as a reason that countries should go cash-free. He switched to using only card and electronic payments after his son's Stockholm apartment was burglarized twice several years ago. There was such a feeling of insecurity, said Mr. Olveus, who carries no cash at all. It made me think, what would happen if this was a cashless society and the robbers couldn't sell what they stole? Now, a lot of people have really thought about this. A lot of people argue, hey, if there were no cash, people aren't going to be charging their drugs on their credit card. There would be no banks to rob. There would be no armed vehicles going around to collect all this money. Everything would be done so much simpler if we just all operated in this total electronic world. And there are some arguments for it. You're going to see some of them. Let's continue on. Bills and coins now represent just 2% of Sweden's economy, compared with 7.7% in the United States and 10% in the euro area. So you mean that we're that close to entering a cashless society? Ladies and gentlemen, if the Antichrist and the false prophet came to power within 2 or 3 years, we could move into the cashless society immediately. The mechanism is all there. Most of us could operate totally cashless if we wanted to right now. And many of you may be already doing that. Now, this year, only about 20% of all consumer payments in Sweden have been made in cash, compared with an average of 75% in the rest of the world, according to Euromonitor International. At more than half of the branches of the country's biggest banks, including SEB, Swedbank, Nordea Bank, and others, no cash is kept on hand. None in a bank, nor are cash deposits accepted. They say they are saving a significant amount on security by removing the incentive for bank robberies. Last year, Swedish bank vaults held around 3.6 billion kroner in notes and coins, down from 8.7 billion in 2010, according to the Bank for International Settlements. Cash machines, which are controlled by a Swedish bank consortium, are being dismantled by the hundreds, especially in rural areas. Mr. Eriksson, who now heads the Association of Swedish Private Security Companies, a lobbying group for firms providing security for cash transfers, accuses banks and credit card companies of trying to price cash out of the market to make way for cards and electronic payments, which generate fee income. Now get this. Notice, it's the banks that are pushing this cashless society because, number one, it doesn't cost them as much to administer the economy because everything's done electronically. They don't have to have tellers counting the money and picking up the money and bringing the money to deposit. None of that anymore. But even beyond that, Every time a person uses their credit card, they make 2 or 3% on that transaction. Even the apps, they make a percentage. So they're creating this huge new source of revenue, and at the same time, they're saving money. No wonder you can't find any cash when you go to the banks of Sweden. I have a feeling most all the banks in the world would love to be in that situation, and they probably will be as soon as they are able to convince society to accept. Sweden loves big government. They've always had a penchant for big government. The last I heard, they have about a 75% taxation rate, which means the government takes 75% of their income and gives them a 25% allowance to live on. But the government then takes care of them from womb to tomb. They birth them, they bury them, total socialized medicine, on and on it goes. So is that the kind of a world we're really headed toward right now? That's what you and I have to ask. And are we watching the prophecy come to pass in front of our eyes? You know, it's always been that mankind has watched prophecies come to pass and not recognized them because they don't take the Bible seriously and they don't know the prophecies anyway. Is that what's happening to us right now? Are you and me watching the mark of the beast being set up in front of our eyes? This is not in some obscure publication somewhere. I'm reading to you from the New York Times, one of the most prominent newspapers in the world. It's like God's out there screaming at the top of his voice. Hey folks, do you understand what happens? This is exactly what's prophesied in the Bible. Let's continue. I don't think that's something they should decide on their own, he said. He's referring to the banks wanting to push us toward the cashless society. Should they really be able to use their market force to turn Sweden into a cashless society? The government has not sought to stem the cashless tide. If anything, it has benefited from more efficient tax collection because electronic transactions leave a trail in countries like Greece and Italy, where cash is still heavily used. Tax evasion remains a big problem. Okay, so now we see another reason for the push toward the cashless society. If there were no money, then the government, with their computers, can track every cent you make and every cent you spend, and they'll make sure that they get every bit of tax money. And they're really, really interested because governments never have enough money. If they get $3 trillion, they need 6. If they get 6, they need 12 because there's always someone out there with their hand out. So now then, we're going to move into a society. I actually heard one governmental official say not too long ago, he said the day will come when you won't even file a tax return. The government will send you your summary and statement, and if you agree with it, you do nothing. And if you don't agree with it, then you file an amended return. They actually are discussing this right now. You're talking about a place where we live under total control. I wonder how long it'll be before the government will say, you know, people that don't know how to manage their money will manage it for them. Could that happen? Now, we're dealing with freedom here. We're dealing with control. Control and freedom are opposite terms because there is an elite group in the world that believes they're smarter than the average person, and therefore they know how to manage your life better than you do. Now that's where we're headed. Let's finish. At the University of Gothenburg, students said they almost exclusively used cards and electronic payments. No one uses cash, said Hannah. I think our generation can live without it. The young people are so attuned to this, they're going to accept it with hardly a blink of the eye. The downside, she conceded, was that it was easy to spend without thinking. I do spend more, Mrs. Eck said, but if I had a 500 krona bill, I'd think twice about spending it all. 500 krona is about $58. Despite the convenience, even some who stand to gain from a cashless society see drawbacks. Sweden has always been at the forefront of technology, so it's easy to embrace, said Jacob De Geer, a founder of iZettle, which makes a mobile-powered card reader. And actually, they're saying that in Sweden, everybody's got these card readers. Even the guy selling newspapers out on the corner, he's got a card reader because so many people don't have cash that he couldn't sell very many newspapers if he didn't have one. This whole society has now moved to the point that many of their banks have no money. Continuing, but Big Brother can watch exactly what you're doing if you purchase things only electronically, he said. Everything speaks in favor of a cashless society, he said as he strolled past the ABBA Museum to retrieve his car. It's a utopian thought, but we're very close to it. Now, I want to pause right here because I'd like to come to the phones right now. I want to ask you some questions, and I'd like for you to call and let me know where you are right now. I have these questions, and I'd like for our operators to go ahead and bring up our callers so that I can hear from you. The number to call to be with me, 877-Endtime. And I'd like to just take a poll. And you don't even have to give your name if you don't want to. You can if you don't mind. But I'd just like to know. I'd like to do a poll. Do you receive your paycheck by direct deposit? That's number one. Do you pay your bills electronically? What percentage of your purchases do you buy with credit cards or debit cards? Do you use Apple Pay, the electronic app, or any other app that allows you to pay electronically? And then I would like to ask you this: how often do you use cash? I want to hear from you because I think all of us need to know right now what's really going on out there, because we may be closer to the mark of the beast than we think. The number to call me, 877-Endtime. If you need to reach our operators, that number is 800-Endtime. And we're going to the phones right now. Amin is calling from Germany. Hello, Amin. What do you have for us today? Amin, are you with me?
Yes. Oh, hi, Mr. Baxter. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, what I wanted to say is, yes, I am from Iran. I'm born there, but I live many times since I'm 2 years old in Germany. And I sometimes, or often check the news, what is happening in my country. And I was reading a very interesting article 2 months ago, and here it is. Iran is planning to give up cash and replace it with an electronic means of payment. The project is to be tested for the first time in a free trade zone in the south of the country. Iranian central bank president, whoever, told Tasnim News Agency on Monday that the plan should be tested first on the island of Kish in southern Iran. And according to him, the electronic banking services have had a positive impact on the economic and social sectors of the country in the past years. Yeah, that's what I only wanted to tell you, that they plan to make a test in the island, on a tourist island. It's a free zone in Iran, very famous. And if it goes well, if everything's okay there, the test is positive, then they want to adopt it in all the country. Yes, that's all.
Amin, do they have
thinking it's
good
for the show.
Amin,
yes.
Did they give a time frame for when this is going to happen?
No, they only told. I will check it, and I will call you the next shows when I have it, okay?
Okay.
I check a time frame if I can find it.
Okay, thank
Just
you.
want to tell it to you, okay?
Thank you. I mean, it's always nice to hear from you from Germany. And we're talking today, in case you're just joining in, we're talking about the cashless society. Now, before we go back to our callers, I'm coming up to a break here. So if you're on hold, don't go away. Stay right there. And we'll get you immediately after the break. But I do want to take time to tell you that we do have a DVD on the mark of the beast. It's actually one of our 14 DVDs in our series called Understanding the End Time. If you've not been through the Understanding the End Time series, why not make that your New Year's resolution? You're going to get through that series during this first month of 2016 because, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, every person on this planet needs to be through that series now because the prophecies are being fulfilled right now. If you can't get the whole series now, though, do ask for the one DVD on the mark of the beast, 666. We go into it in depth. We show the scriptures. We show how it's going to work. We give a lot of documentation that we all need. And so I urge you to do that. There's one more thing I wanted to ask you about. We now have a brand new DVD called America's God-Given Destiny. What's going to happen to the United States in the end time? I go into it in depth. The Bible has a lot to say about it. You're going to be encouraged, but you need to know. Now, this DVD, anybody can get access to it for any deposit, any donation of any amount. Simply go to 1-800, or let's go to our website. Just simply go to endtime.com. There's a place that you can listen to it for a donation of any amount. I urge you, everybody, do this. You need to see that DVD just as quickly as you possibly can. And there's some more details I'll tell you about immediately after the break. It is estimated that there were 300 million people on earth during the time of Jesus and his apostles. We have over 7 billion human beings on earth today. This means we have 23 times as many people to reach with the gospel as Jesus and his disciples had. God has given us unprecedented tools to accomplish this great commission here in these end times.
Endtime Ministries has had a great year so far. We have been very aggressive for the cause of Jesus Christ, reaching an average of 220 million people per month using television, radio, internet, social media, Endtime Magazine, and Endtime Prophecy conferences. Each month we are having visitors to our website from every nation on earth.
Many of you planned for end of the year giving. Please consider a special gift to End Time in your planning. These gifts are always such a blessing to our ministry.
Partners, your wonderful generosity and support throughout this year have made this year's accomplishments possible. The tasks before us are greater than the accomplishments behind us. I have no doubt that God is going to help us experience the greatest revival the world has ever known.
So from Judy and I and the End Time staff, we would like to say to you,
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year! From the bottom of our hearts, thank you and God bless you.
If your radio station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com to continue to listen to today's broadcast.
We've been talking today about the New York Times article declaring that Sweden is going almost totally cashless. Many of their banks will not take any cash, neither in deposits, nor will they disperse any cash to you. They're going almost totally cashless. And so we are conducting a poll today. I'd like to hear from you. You don't have to give your name if you don't want to, or your location, but if you don't care, that's fine. Do you receive your paycheck by direct deposit? Do you pay your bills electronically? What percentage of your purchases do you pay with credit card or debit cards? Do you use Apple Pay, or do you use other electronic means of paying? And Then the big one, how often do you use cash? We're going to the phones right now. Dan is calling from Montana. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Irvin. Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
Hey, Irvin, I've been listening for quite a while, and I try and use cash as much as possible, but it's impossible to get my paycheck unless I get it electronically. There's no other way that they'll do it for me anymore. And I'm finding that more things are online that you want to buy. You have to use some sort of credit card or debit card. That's the only way you can do it. But for me, I don't pay any of my bills electronically because you've trained me well. And I use cash every day, but it's getting harder and harder to do.
So we're all feeling the pressures, aren't we?
Yes. And I can see it coming to where that they have their way. It won't be long, and cash will probably be gone unless we all stand up and have something to say about it.
Dan, and really, just using electronic means of transactions within itself is not a sinful thing or a wrongful thing. It's just when you know the prophecies of the Bible and where it's leading us, and also the enslavement that it could bring to us, that's when you really start to scratch your head saying, wait a minute, do I really want to yield to the pressures of this society, or do I want for them to drag me kicking and screaming across the finish line with my pocket full of cash? That's what we all have to ask ourselves, I think. But so what percentage of your bills do you pay using electronic means, and what percentage do you use pay for with cash?
I pay my monthly bills via check. I don't use any electronic, and then for my daily groceries and gasoline, I use cash. I go to the bank 3 times a week. They know me by name. So.
Yes, I'm sure they do. Okay, well, I appreciate it very much, Dan. I appreciate your input in the program. This is what we want to do. Now, I got a feeling that the listeners to this program probably are not going to be the average group of listeners, because most of you are informed about what's coming and you may be resistant. Nevertheless, we do want to hear from you. Thanks a lot, Dan. We appreciate it. Let's go down to Patricia. Patricia's calling from right here in Texas. Hello, Patricia.
I think it's better to have the money in your pocket. I've had so many problems with cards, and I've tried everything, money orders, and everything for the kind of people you pay, and if you don't pay on time, you're in deep trouble or something like that, And I can't pay in cash with them, but checks, I do write some checks, but boy, I've had trouble with that bank now too. Your PIN number doesn't work. Oh, really? So this money just sits there. I don't spend much money, really, the way things are going lately. Then when you get cash, you have this problem with people just gotta have $20 or $40. They're just going to be thrown out of their apartment. And but if you help the poor, you're better off than if you help the cheaters who get your card. You know what? Some guy calls me Positive Pat because I'm so negative. I suddenly got so many emails from Hillary Clinton, people raising money, calling me Positive Pat. He swears he never sent my name anyway to her. Now, he does it on mail, and I don't trust the post office. I'm not sure it's owned by us anymore. So, I see everything coming. But I still think that we should have some gold because everybody recognizes gold. And the banks are going to close if you suddenly had to leave town. They'll run out of money at the ATM. You won't be able to get gas. Yeah. But people do recognize gold and silver.
Yeah, so Patricia, what percentage of your bills and of your spending do you do by credit card or electronically?
Well, I don't have too many bills. My husband pays my rent in cash. He goes to the bank, he gets a bunch of $20 bills. I said, you look like a junkie. But he said, well, when they see those $20, they go and they realize how much money And then I pay with debit cards with things that people I can trust, but and no charge me. some people are actually charging you, and it's just really getting so bad out there that it'll take you 30 minutes to pay it with a debit card. So I find a place I can go and pay it in cash. You know, like a utility, like a store or somewhere that takes payments.
Well, okay, Patricia, I appreciate your input. Thank you very much for that. We're trying to get an idea of what's going on out there. Thanks a lot, Patricia. I'm going to let you go. Michigan. Buck is calling from Michigan. So, Buck, do you get a real paycheck or do you get it electronically?
Oh, let's see. I'm in the HVAC refrigeration business. I've been for over 25 years. I just got a couple questions and then a comment, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
I've worked for companies in the past. They used to write you checks. I went to another company, and they said if you didn't take direct deposit, then they wouldn't let you work there. So the company I just started working for not too long ago also says direct deposit. They don't write checks anymore.
Yes.
And if you don't get a direct deposit, well, then you're not going to be employed, because that's the only way they'll write you a check.
Right.
So then we had to go get a bank account, an additional bank account with a bank card for that particular check that they have on the checking account when they deposit it. I've done work for most of my life, and most of it's cash. I do, most of us, we put furnaces in, refrigeration, electric, heating, cooling, and even to the point where people don't even want to pay you cash now, and most of us that's in this business, we do side work. Another comment would be, how do you, I've got a question for you. It's all direct deposit now. Our Christmas, we bought all the Christmas this year through cards, online, computer, Amazon. And then everything seems to be all credit cards now. My question to you is, even when let's just what's the answer? I mean, these people used to pay me cash a lot to come put in a furnace. They used to pay me cash to do this or do electrical work at the house, service calls or whatnot. But they're even telling me now that I've got to get a little plug that fits in the top of my phone so I can swipe cards from customers' homes or restaurants or any type of business like that. We're all saying that everything's going one way. What's your answer to keep going from that? How do we not take the mark of the beast? How do we not do all the credit card transactions that they're making us go to now? And the cash that we do get, I mean, that's kind of the only thing that, we can really live on. That was my comment, and the question to you is, what do you recommend that we can do to kind of hinder the process, if we can at all, and what does a man like me do nowadays? Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you, Buck. Appreciate the phone call. Well, that's the real question. What should we do? We certainly don't want a cashless society. We're not going to stop the technological advancements that we're all experiencing, but yet, by resistance, we can slow down the process. If we went half electronic, we could still exist. It's when you go total electronic that you have no options left and you become, you're placed under total control. So I think Buck said the magic word, resistance. Continue to function in as much cash as possible, and that way they won't be able to implement a totally cashless society. Now, even better than that is going to be if we have people in the White House and in our Congress that understand the prophecies of the Bible so that they would work with us rather than against us. We had this experience back when they were attempting to implement the Real ID Act. The Real ID Act was signed into law on May the 11th of 2005 by George W. Bush, and they intended to have it implemented by May the 11th of 2008. However, we sent a magazine to every senator, every congressman, every state senator, every state congressman, and we said in that magazine, we explained all about the Real ID, about the mark of the beast, about why we don't want to go into a society where every person will have a number. Now, the whole purpose for all of this is control, control, control. Now, think about it for a moment. What's a word opposite of control? It would be freedom. If you're controlled, you're not free. If you're free, you're not controlled. We live in a time when the government is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What we would like to see is the government to become smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, if we want smaller government, we can't expect the government to do everything for us. We have to be self-reliant. So, number one, we can resist by not conforming to this any more than we need to and want to. Always make sure that a part of our life is independent. The second thing we can do is to elect representatives, and especially at the White House, well, on all levels, that have a prophetic understanding. There are several candidates running for office right now that it's obvious they have a prophetic understanding. I'm thinking in particular of Senator Cruz. I'm thinking of Mr. Carson. Both of them have made statements at times that tip me off, that they understood some things about Bible prophecy that perhaps the average candidate does not understand. But most of all, make sure they are people who embrace freedom rather than control. I think that's some of the biggest things that we have to really look at as we're considering this whole scenario. Now, I want to take time to go back to the America's God-given destiny, because there's some things about that I didn't tell you about. We made this very special DVD. Some people think it's the best thing we've ever done. And we did it because so many people in America are saying, okay, we know all these prophecies are coming. What's going to happen to us? What should we do? I began to study, and I found things in the Bible that were very encouraging to me. I found things about the future of the United States of America. We call this America's God-given destiny. We want to help the Jewish people escape from around the world and get safely to Israel. We're asking people to donate $1,000 if God's blessed you where you can. We will give you a letter to send to the Jew that you support. We will give you a special piece of art showing America watching over Israel. And we also will give you the physical DVD called America's God-Given Destiny. I'll tell you more about this after the break. We'll be back in just a moment, continuing our poll.
I was listening to Politics and Religion and heard an announcement about Endtime Ministries hosting a Bible study on understanding the end time at their headquarters. My husband and I were studying Bible prophecy and had been listening to Irvin Baxter for several years. We began attending the lessons, and immediately our eyes were open to so much more of the Bible and the prophecies of end-time events. As the Word of God filled our hearts, the Lord began to restore our broken marriage. We continued to grow spiritually with Endtime University. Through revelation and obedience to the Word, we were born again and our lives were forever transformed. This teaching inspired us to share with family and friends, and we began hosting our own Endtime Bible study out of the comfort of our own home. We popped in the DVD, served snacks, had wonderful fellowship, and built lasting friendships. There is no greater joy than living for God, sharing the gospel, and helping others understand the prophecies of the Bible. You can do the same in your community too. Go to endtime.com and under events, click the Bible Studies link or call 1-800-ENDTIME to start your own Endtime Bible study today.
Before we get back to our poll and our callers about the mark of the beast and the fact that Sweden is going cashless, I want to finish what I was telling you just before the break. All of you know that we have set up a fund called Another Jewish Holocaust Fund. There is another Holocaust coming. As much as I hate to tell you this, it is coming. It's going to happen. It's clearly prophesied in the Bible. If you'd like to read it for yourself, go to Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. It says there that then shall Michael stand up, and it will be a time of trouble such as never been before, nor ever again shall be. Jesus repeated the prophecy in Matthew chapter number 24, verse 15 through 21. He foretold a time coming when people would have to run for their lives. Well, in this DVD, America's God-Given Destiny, we tell all about it. We also reach out to Jews and Christians. It won't be just Jews that have to run for their lives. Jews and Christians, and we tell that there are going to be special countries of refuge, places you can go to be exempt. We tell all about it in this new DVD, America's God-Given Destiny. We're devoting this DVD to raising money to help Jews to escape. We already have been able to donate large sums of money to help them, but the need is huge. And so here's what we're doing. If you are able to and willing to give $1,000 to the Another Jewish Holocaust Fund, you will receive a letter written to Dear Jewish Friend, and it's got a place for your signature. You'll send that back to us, and we will then give it to the Jewish Agency in Israel, and they have agreed to present that letter to the person that you help. And in addition to that, we'll also send you a beautiful piece of artwork showing America overlooking the nation of Israel. It'll be a wonderful thing you can put on your wall. And then you also will get a physical DVD, which you can have. It contains a special song written and sung by Allison Huntley, and the name of the song is America's God-Given Destiny. You will love it. Now, if you can't do $1,000 but would like to do $500, you'll get the physical DVD and you'll have Allison's song on there as well. But for all the rest of you, maybe you can't afford those things. If you give any donation, then we're going to give you a passcode to listen, to actually download America's God-Given Destiny digitally from the Endtime website. All you have to do is go to endtime.com, make a donation. It'll immediately give you a response page. Here's your code to listen to America's God-Given Destiny. So anybody can do it. It is such an important message. We wanted to use it to help the Jewish people and the Christians that are being persecuted around the world. So we wanted to use it for that noble cause, but yet we didn't want to make it off limits to those who maybe could not afford. Therefore, for a donation of any amount, all you have to do is go to endtime.com, make the donation, whatever you choose to donate, and then you will receive your passcode and you'll be able to listen. I'm telling you, you'll love it. It's going to be an inspiration to you. Plus, it's going to give you information that all of us really, really need. I do have lines open right now, and I'm asking you today, do you receive your paycheck by mail or do you receive it by direct deposit? So far, it's been 100% direct deposit, except for those who work for themselves. Secondly, do you pay your bills electronically? Thirdly, do you buy by credit card, by debit card, or do you pay cash? Are you using Apple Pay? And finally, how often do you use cash? We'd like to hear from you to get an idea of what's going on out there. So far, what we're hearing is, well, I like to use cash, but it's getting harder and harder and harder. And then there are other advantages, of course, if you buy by credit card and something is wrong with the merchandise, then you can cancel the charge on your bill. You can dispute the amount of the charge or whatever you need to do. So there are a lot of advantages to do things electronically built in, and it's not sinful to do that. However, if we're going to stop the drift toward a totally cashless society, and we don't want to be there at all, we need to make sure that America lags behind, and we are lagging behind right now. Thank God for it. I believe we're lagging behind because too many people know about the mark of the beast. They don't want to go there, so they resist moving toward a totally electronic life. I want to get back to the phones now. Then I'm going to call to be on the air with me, 877 Endtime. We do have some open lines, so go ahead and give us a call. Right now, let's go to Oregon. Lori is calling from Oregon. Hello, Lori.
Yes, I use everything on my debit or credit card, my bills, and I'm on disability, so it's just automatically deposited into my bank.
Do you ever have cash, Lori?
Well, I do, but to be safe, I put it in the bank. So listening to you, it makes me wonder if I shouldn't just take it all out. And I have also been doing a lot of research on what are they called? Like Skull and Bones and the banking and all that information.
Right.
So the Illuminati and all this information, and it's like, and as I see the signs of the time, as Jesus says for us to watch, and it's just like crazy. So, I'm not really sure what to do with the money because it's all government anyways. So, but most everything I do is, with a card.
Well, let me just tell you, Lori, I don't want to overemphasize something that would lead you astray. You're in a position where that's working for you right now. If you have any extra money that you could save, then you might really consider at least having a storage of cash that you can put your hands on. But of course, you want it to be in a safe place. But right now, we're not ready for the mark of the beast in our world. It's at least 3.5 years away and probably a little bit more than that. So I'm not trying to get you to go out and do something reckless or irresponsible here. I'm just educating everybody because this is coming. This article from Sweden is what triggered this program. When I saw it, I realized that Sweden is almost ready for the mark of the beast right now. And I realize that this is going on around the world, and of course it's going on here in the United States of America. So I really felt like I should sound the alarm today and make everyone aware so that we can at least know what we should do. And there may come a time I come on here and say, look, we've got to go as much cash as we possibly can if it should ever hit America. On the other hand, we may be able to stop it from ever taking control of America. And I do believe that there's a chance that that could happen as well.
Yes, I was thinking about taking the cash out, but I've also heard, too, that if they go to a one currency, then the dollar would be nothing.
Well,
so unless you go into gold and silver, and, it's just really hard to say, except just to trust the Lord on what to do.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. The Lord, David said, I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. And we can rely on him. But also, stay tuned to this program because I promise you we're going to stay on the cutting edge of it. We're going to know it's coming before it ever gets here. We'll be warning everybody. And so just make sure you stay tuned, Lori.
I will do that. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot for calling. Appreciate it very much. Let's go now to Indiana. Rick is calling from Indiana. Hello, Rick.
Hi, Irvin.
What's your situation?
No credit card, no debit card, pay cash only, and I gave up the cell phone about 1.5 years ago because I believe that's coming next.
Well, everything is pretty much going towards cell phones, and that's part of the article there from Sweden, and that is that a lot of people don't even like to carry plastic now. They're all going to apps on their phone. And of course, then you don't have to carry any cash. You don't have to carry any credit cards. You don't have to worry about losing credit cards. It's all right there. So that is coming. But Rick, you're not really the rule. You're sort of the exception.
Well, I've been listening to you and studying prophecy for since 78, so I know we're coming to the end here.
Yeah, well, we really are. Rick, do you work at a place where you have to get a check or receive by direct deposit?
No.
Okay, you don't. Okay, well, it sounds like to me that if I get in trouble in the middle of the tribulation, I better remember Rick from Indiana.
Thanks, Irvin.
Hey, appreciate the phone call, Rick.
Yep, thank you, Jesus.
Thank you very much. And as you can see today, ladies and gentlemen, we're seeing all different voices coming at us. Rick's in a position where he's operating almost totally cash, whereas Lori's in a position that she's almost totally, because she's on a government check, that she's almost totally dependent upon electronic funds transfer. So that's the type of a situation that she finds herself in. Here's the most important thing. The Bible says that the sons of Issachar were men who had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do. This thing is not going to hit us blindsided. The first coming of Jesus did not surprise those people who knew the prophecies of the Bible. The problem is they were few. The Bible says in 1 Thessalonians chapter number 5, "Brethren, you know perfectly that the day of the Lord comes as a thief in the night." But then it says this, "But you are not children of the night, that day should overtake you unawares. You are children of the day." So we who walk in light, the light of God's Spirit, the light of God's Word, we're not going to be taken by surprise. We're not, right now we see it coming, and it's not even here yet. We know that it's at least 3.5, 4 years, maybe 5, 6, or 7 years away. We don't know for sure about that, but at least 3.5 years away before the mark of the beast could be implemented. But we can see the world preparing for it right now. If the world's preparing for it, then we can prepare for it in an opposite way. Once again, I would just like to mention to you the brand new DVD, America's God-Given Destiny, available to anyone for any donation of any size. All you have to do is go to endtime.com, click on the donate button. You'll receive a page. I'll actually receive a page plus an email telling you what your passcode is so that you can download digitally or stream digitally the message, America's God-Given Destiny. Now, for $500 donation, another Jewish Holocaust Fund, then there's some special things because of that. Nevertheless, for any donation, I hope all of you will listen to America's God-Given Destiny. Go to endtime.com, click the donate button. You'll receive your passcode to be able to listen to it. I think it'll be a blessing to you. Well, once again, you've been listening to End of the Age.
End of the Age is a production of Endtime Ministries. This broadcast will be available on our website, endtime.com, in the archives section. On our website, you'll also find more information about how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. To reach our operators, call 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. Endtime Ministries is partner supported. We would like to say thank you to our partners who made this broadcast possible. To do what Matthew 24:14 said, to reach the world with the gospel of the kingdom.